Hi everyone. I'm here today because I want to talk about a major change coming to California real estate. It's called AB 455. This is actually a new law that introduces a critical disclosure requirement that will affect every single home sale in California starting January 1st, 2026. This isn't just another piece of paperwork. It's actually a law about protecting buyers and creating new responsibilities for sellers. Whether you're planning to sell your home or you're looking to buy, this law impacts you directly. So today I'm going to break down what this means for your transaction, and let's start by looking at the specifics of the new law. I'm talking about AB 455, and it's, as I mentioned, a new piece of legislation. This is a California first in the nation law requiring the disclosure of tobacco and nicotine use in residential real estate. It's not a partisan thing. It passed with overwhelming support by the entire legislature and was signed into law by the governor in October of 2025. This means starting in January 1st of 2026, every seller must disclose any known history of smoking or vaping in their home. It's all about bringing transparency to a hidden environmental hazard. But exactly what is that hazard, and let's kind of define the problem that this law is actually trying to solve. The hazard we're talking about, it's called third-hand smoke. Now, most people know about second-hand smoke, but third-hand smoke is the toxic chemical residue that's left behind long after the smoke clears. This residue is actually like a chemical fingerprint that embeds itself deep into a home structure. It soaks into carpets, walls, furniture, and even your HVAC system. The scary part is this residue can actually remain toxic for years, and it contains about 24 chemicals known to cause some really serious health issues. You can't just clean it up either. I mean, you can't just mop over it. It often requires professional remediation. So the question is, who really is most at risk from that lingering residue? Well, third-hand smoke is really a risk for everyone, but certain groups are much more vulnerable. Children, for instance, are at the highest risk because they're the ones that are crawling around on the floor where all of that residue accumulates. And they actually absorb toxins much more easily through their skin than, say, a teenager or an adult. Elderly people and people with compromised immune systems, they're also highly susceptible to these chemical exposures. And if you or a family member suffers from asthma or allergies, this residue can significantly worsen your symptoms. This is why disclosure is really vital. It gives families the power to make informed decisions about the safety of their home. So let's start by looking at the seller's new responsibilities. The law requires sellers to disclose in writing if they have actual knowledge of any residue from smoking or vaping tobacco or nicotine products. This also includes disclosing any known history of occupants smoking or vaping really anywhere on the property. This new requirement is being added directly to the transfer disclosure statement, what we call the TDS, which is the standard form used in California real estate. The key phrase is actual knowledge. You must disclose what you know. Next, let's walk through how this disclosure process works during a sale. First, before you even list your home, you'll complete the updated transfer disclosure statement, which now includes tobacco disclosure section. This is a crucial first step. Then, during escrow, that completed TDS must be delivered to the buyer as soon as possible. Once the buyer receives it, they have a statutory right to review it for 3 days, or 5 days if it was mailed to them. This review period is where the buyer has options. They can investigate the property, negotiate for repairs, or even cancel the contract. And here's a critical point for sellers. If you discover or remember any new information after you make that initial disclosure, you must provide an amended TDS, which restarts the buyer review process. So you'll really want to stay on top of that. This process really ensures transparency and it protects both parties. So let's look at the specific options that buyers have during that review process. The timeline shows that buyers have a review period, and this slide details really exactly what you can do during that time. You receive a disclosure that smoking or vaping has occurred in the home. Your first option is really to inspect. You can hire professionals or use DIY kits to test for third-hand smoke residue, and that can help you understand the extent of what the contamination really is. Second, you can negotiate. Based on your inspection findings, you might ask the seller for professional cleaning or carpet replacement, or maybe a credit at closing to cover some of those remediation costs. Third, you can actually proceed with the purchase as is, accepting the property with full knowledge of the situation. And finally, you have the statutory right to cancel the purchase agreement during that review period if you decide the combination is just a deal breaker. Knowing your options is really key to making a confident decision on purchasing that home. But what if you do need to remediate? What does that look like? Let's take a look at what the potential cost could be. Now, it's understanding the cost of remediation. It's really vital for both buyers and sellers when they're negotiating a sale. The cost depends entirely on the level of contamination. For minor issues, maybe like a slight odor, you might only spend a couple $100 or $1,000 on professional cleaning and some deodorizing. For moderate issues, where the residue is a little deeper, could be more, upwards $4,000 for maybe a deep cleaning, duct cleaning, ozone treatments. And if the contamination is really severe, you might need to replace soft materials like carpets, which can cost, thousands of dollars. In the worst case scenarios where smoking is heavy and prolonged, you might need extensive renovation, including replacing drywall, which that can easily cost tens of thousands of dollars. That's why this disclosure is really important. It allows everyone to factor in those potential expenses into a transaction. So why did California decide to mandate this disclosure? Well, the law isn't just about paperwork. It's about protecting people and really creating a fair marketplace. AB 455 is fundamentally about consumer protection, and it empowers buyers to make fully informed decisions about the safety of the home they want to buy. And it also raises health awareness by formally recognizing third-hand smoke as a serious environmental hazard like lead and asbestos. By requiring this disclosure, we are promoting market transparency, aligning tobacco use with other known environmental risks that must be disclosed. And for sellers, honest disclosure actually reduces your liability. Providing this information up front protects you from personal lawsuits down the road. And who wants that? Now, we know why this law matters, so let's look at the practical steps sellers need to comply. If you're a seller, complying with AB 455 is straightforward. If you follow these really simple steps, first and foremost, be honest. Disclosing any known history of smoking or vaping on the property is critical. Second, make sure you're using that updated TDS or transfer disclosure statement form that's available starting 2026. Because if you're using an old one, you're going to have to amend it, and it can restart that time period when your buyer has to investigate the property. Third, disclose early. Get that TDS done as soon as possible to prevent any kind of delays during escrow. Fourth, work close, really close with your real estate agent. We're here to guide you through this new requirement. Finally, if you remember or discover any new information after your initial disclosure, you must provide an amended disclosure immediately. Following these steps will really ensure that you meet all of the legal obligations that you're required to meet. Now, let's look how buyers can use this new information to protect themselves. So this is where buyers, where they can take control. Your main protection as a buyer under AB 455 is the right to investigate and negotiate before you commit to the purchase. So when you get that transfer disclosure statement, the first thing you want to do is read the entire thing carefully, but pay attention to the tobacco section. Don't just skim past it. If smoking is disclosed, ask your agent to find out a little bit more. Was it daily smoking for 20 years, or maybe just occasional use in the back patio? The context is really going to be important. You should seriously consider testing the property, either professionally or get a DIY kit and confirm the level of nicotine residue that's in the home. Once you know the extent of the problem, you can get estimates from remediation companies so you know the true cost of the cleanup. This information gives you the power to negotiate with the seller for repairs, professional cleaning, or even a credit at closing. And remember, you have the statutory right to cancel the contract during your review period if you decide the contamination is just a deal breaker. Knowledge is power in this new landscape. So let me quickly summarize the most important parts from this law. The law became effective January 1st, 2026, and it applies to virtually all residential sales of 1 to 4 units. The core responsibility, well, it falls on the seller to disclose any known history of tobacco or nicotine use in writing. For buyers, the law provides a critical 3 to 5 day review and cancellation period, giving you time to investigate. We now recognize, of course, that third-hand smoke is a serious environmental hazard, just like lead or asbestos. And finally, remember that your real estate professional is there to help guide you through every step of this new requirement. They should be ready to answer any of your specific questions. Now, know we covered a lot of ground, and likely you have questions about maybe how this new law impacts your personal situation, whether you're a buyer or a seller. The thing about it is that every home sale is unique, and I'm here to provide personal guidance. So if you're selling a home with a smoking history, let's talk about the best way to handle the disclosure and any potential remediation. If you're buying a property where tobacco has been disclosed, we can discuss testing options, maybe negotiation strategy to get that remediated. Feel free to reach out to me directly using the contact information on the screen, or DM me if you have any questions at all. I'll help ensure that you navigate this new law with complete confidence. I'm Jeannie Stevens, and I'm your Move Champion.